Hey, welcome to the shop. Today I'm doing a little updated review of the Siegmund fixture table now that I've had it here in the shop for 2 years. Now the particular table that I have is 3 feet by 4 feet. They have a ton of different sizes and it's their Imperial series, so the hole spacing is on 2-inch centers and there's 2 inches between each of these grid lines here. They also have a metric version that would be 50 millimeters, so if you're working with more metric drawings, that might be a better fit. Now this is one of their 5-sided tables, so it has the top surface as well as this vertical surface. You can use this to clamp parts to and work with it in that way, just like this. Or if you're working on larger projects, you can extend your work surface by attaching these brackets here to the side. And the kit that I have actually came with 4 of these cast brackets, and you can attach them with the quick lock bolts. Now these quick lock bolts are a fixed length here, and when you tighten down the head, these balls expand out, so you need to have chamfers on the back side of the holes for these particular type of bolts to work. You have this nice round in the top which helps you to insert things and keeps you from dinging up that edge. Now here underneath the table you can see those chamfers that are precision machined into each individual hole, so that when you go and actually install the bolt in there, those balls expand out and pull it down. Now you're not going to find those chamfers machined onto a lot of your more budget-friendly cast iron tables. So be aware of that you're going to have to use a different type of bolt that won't be as quick to use. While we're under here, let's take a look at the actual construction of the table. So this is 1/4 of the table right here. You have a stiffening rib going this direction in the center, and then one going that direction in the center, and they have intermittent welds up to the top all the way along to provide some additional stiffness. And after this is all fabricated, it's machined to size. Right here's the platform for your leg to attach to. Now the reason it's fabricated like this rather than cast is because this is made from tool steel, where a cast iron table has some advantages in that it's all cast as one piece, but they're soft. And that's one of the issues when you're moving material around on here, bumping into it, is you don't want to get dings and pits that could raise your material and throw it off, and you have to constantly be maintaining. So this is very hard. Let me show you what I mean. Now if you look at what it did to this steel right here, you got a pretty good sized ding in it. And I wouldn't recommend doing that on a cast iron table, because you'd have just as big or a bigger ding on your table. Right here is the point of impact. You can see that mark, but there is no indentation, at least any appreciable amount here on that table. So that's the benefit that you get. As you're working on this, you maintain the integrity of that datum surface. Now while we're here, let me show you one of the simplest but most useful features that you aren't going to find on a lot of other tables. It's this scale right here. So I can measure, and again, this is the Imperial table, so it's in inches. If you got the metric one, it would be in centimeters or millimeters. But I can measure out and lay out my parts without having to use a tape measure a lot of the time, because I can read right here and just pull a straight edge between the sides, and I have this grid pattern that goes all the way across to help lay things out. Let's take a look at the fixturing kit that came with this when I got it 2 years ago. You've got quite a bit in here. So first of all, it's more than just being able to put clamps in, right? A lot of your more budget cast iron tables or fabricated steel tables with holes in them, about all you can do is put clamps in, or you have to bolt and nut things to it. But with the ability to use these ball lock bolts here, you can actually build like some pretty involved fixtures with just this small kit here. Now in the kit you get 4 of their high-end really nice clamps. There's 8 different stops, and these stops are nice because you can adjust the exact position of them. You have a dozen bolts right there, 4 of these angle brackets here. You have some accessories to clean and also to be able to tighten up the bolts, as well as a torch holder right here. So I just want to show you these clamps that Siegmund offers compared with the competition right here. The competitors' clamps, they're quite a bit narrower here. They're made from multiple pieces rather than a solid welded construction, and they only rely on the binding force here. So you get a lot of wiggling and moving around, and they work fine, but these are really on a different level of quality. When you look at how they fit in here, they have these knobs so you can lock the height, and then you can slide back and forth to be able to position over wherever you are, where with these clamps you really have to kind of swing and try to get it in a spot that'll work. Here you get more adjustability along the line to be able to lock them in, and it'll hold its height while you position something there, which is really helpful. There's also different feet you can pop these off. In fact, you can even put these in the table as a rest pad, so it's just a little bit more versatile tooling and better built. Granted, they do cost a little bit more than those other competitor clamps. Now, if you're a longtime viewer, you know that I believe in being fully transparent whenever anything has been sponsored. And let me tell you the story here with this. It was a couple years ago, I decided this is the table system that I wanted to upgrade to as my last table, at least unless I ever needed a bigger one, but just a one-time thing. And I was ready and willing to make the purchase on this, but I reached out to Quantum Machinery to see if they wanted to partner on it, and they did sponsor me with this table kit, and they have sent out some additional fixtures along the way too. If it wasn't everything that it's cracked up to be, I wouldn't be making this video and telling you more about it, but I really am a believer in their products, and also in the effort that they go to as far as customer service and keeping things in stock. Now, I just want to show a few examples of how I've used this over the years. And if you watch my videos, I mean, you've seen me use it in these and so many other projects, but I've built a lot of different carts and just flat projects like this. It can be really nice to use those stops to align everything parallel and then clamp it all down while you weld either side, just to control distortion and keep everything in place and have confidence. And then what's really nice about those stops is when you have two different pieces that are the same width. Now here you can see I'm using the vertical brackets to make sure that I keep everything nice and square as I weld this out. And this is an approach I took a lot. Now here with some round tubing work on this frame, I was able to use stops to just straighten and true everything up, because there's always a little bit of spring back or whatnot. And by clamping it all in place before I put in any cross members, I could get everything straight and true. So this is their hydraulic press, which I'm fortunate enough to have one of those here, and that can be really useful for bending material in shapes like this. One of the most unique accessories that I've seen for a fixture table, and they have all kinds of just crazy things that you can hardly even imagine in their catalog. So here is another example of welding up a frame and just keeping everything clamped down to avoid distortion, and then clamping it down again. So whenever I'm building something, I like to start off with just a square reference surface on one of the corners. And if my parts are cut right, that's mostly what I need. So here's just a simple example of how I can set up that square reference surface. Then once everything's clamped off of that, I can weld it out. So really useful in so many different situations with those stops, either with the round holes or not. Now this is a unique project where I'm building a chip chute, and I want to align all the sheet metal, so I set up those stops at the right dimensions, and that allowed me to hold these sheet metal pieces right in place, and it'd be difficult to get a fit like that in a different way. So this worked out really well, not only to set it in place, but also as I weld it, for it to be held by those stops, to be able to get a nice part out of this. Now here's something that I ended up doing quite a bit, where I'd put two of those angle brackets against one another and just use that to tack up legs on tables, carts, and things like that. And so I have the flexibility to set that up just whatever way I want. And in a simple jig like that, I'm able to get a nice square leg each time. Now for this project, I needed to have both of these plates parallel, and a good way to do that and align the bottom was just to set up these angle brackets at the width that I needed. So how is the table held up? Well, this isn't getting all day, everyday use, but I have given it a significant amount of overall use over the last 2 years, and the surface is really good as a whole. There are some little marks around here, and what those are from is grounding through the table, and it took me a while of using it before I realized that this was happening, but to my knowledge, there's not a coating that you can have on here that won't erode a little bit if you ground through it. So it's better to ground directly to your part when you're welding. Now, as far as spatter goes, I haven't had any issues with cleaning it off. If I'm doing some heavy MIG on here, I'll hit it with some anti-spatter beforehand, just as, you know, best practice. But I've had lots of spatter land directly on the table without any treatment, and it's cleaned off without any issues. So I've been really happy with the coating on the table, this hardened coating. Now the clamps themselves, if you look, obviously you're gonna have some dings on the corner of the paint. So they aren't new, they've been used quite a bit. But overall they still function just as well as the day that they were brand new. I do add a little bit of WD-40 to the threads from time to time, just to, you know, keep them oiled up, and that'll keep spatter from sticking to it if it happens to hit it. Also the bolts here, you know, I've hit them with a grinder on the face on accidents and things like that, but they still function just as well as the day they were new. And that's one of the benefits of having this hardened tool steel on the table, is it just holds up over time, it doesn't wear down, and it will work for many years to come. Now these are some new fixtures that I just got in that add some, you know, different types of stops, some different types of brackets that you can build off of, as well as more of the clamps, different rest pads right here, and some different clamps that can clamp sideways or at an angle, or just give a little bit more flexibility. And there's also some brackets as part of that tooling kit. So they have these tooling kit packages, and honestly, this is one of the smaller of them that just allow you to add another layer of flexibility. Now, I do just want to address the price for a minute. It's around $3,700 for the original kit with the table and all the accessories. This is going to be a lifetime purchase for a business or an individual. So it does come at that more premium price tag, but I wanted to show you something else that's an option if that's a little too high. They now have these workbench flat top style, and it's $1,000 for this one that's roughly the same size, just a little bit smaller, and it includes the clamps, bolts, and some stops. So that could be a great option for you. I'll link both of those in the description. Hey, thanks a ton for tuning in. If you enjoyed this or learned something, let me know by hitting that thumbs up below. And if you have any other questions about the fixture table, please leave them in the comments. I do my best to reply. I'm not able to reply to everybody, but I do read through them, and I'll reply as much as I can. Also, if there's any other equipment or tools that I have that you'd like to see a longer term review on, please let me know there in the comments as well, and I'll look at doing some more of these longer term reviews.